Hey everyone, it's Bob with another FinOp Controller webcast. This week we're going to discuss what to do when the rules do not exactly cover the situation that you're presented with. So let's get started. A few disclaimers and notes. This presentation is for educational purposes only. It's designed to give an overview of issues related to the reserve calc. It's not legal advice. If you're doing an actual reserve calc, I'm going to refer you to the finra.org website where you can find the interpretations for financial and operational rules. Finally, I think the best way to make use of this presentation is to review it versus your firm's calculation and to compare the items. There are a few things to consider when handling customer property, and that's that the SEC wants to protect customers' cash and securities. For cash, it should be relatively simple to determine if you have the customer's cash, be it a check, a wire, or some other type of debit in the firm's bank account. For securities, it's slightly different. If you're not sure it's a security, an example being an insurance product, then I would recommend you apply the Howey and the Hills test. It's a four-pronged test that helps you determine whether the product meets the definition of a security. For the reserve calc, the firm is required to obtain possession and control of securities within the rule's timeframes. After the time limit has elapsed, the reserve deposit might be increased as outlined in the applicable rules section. Finally, you have to be aware if there's a specific rule that's applicable to the product, and if not, is there a similar rule that you can reasonably apply to your situation? That's what we're going to be exploring next. The rule talks a lot about how to handle bank sweep credits. However, there's no real discussion on how to handle debits created by the bank sweep product. As you're probably well aware, the product allows customers to deposit money with the broker-dealer and write checks on their account. Behind the scenes, the broker-dealer sweeps the customer's excess cash to banks chosen by the customer. When the customer writes a check, the BD's agent bank will determine if the customer has sufficient funds in his or her account, and if so, the agent bank will cash the check and debit the broker-dealer's account. The BD will debit the customer's account, and usually on the next day, there will be a sweep from the bank to cover the debit in the customer's account. So our question is this: how do we handle that debit that's now in the customer's account? Or in other words, can we include it in the reserve calculation, or do we have to exclude it from the formula? The nature of the transaction is the broker-dealer is lending money to a customer until the bank sweep covers the debit. While there is nothing in the rule that talks about bank sweeps covering debits, it does discuss covering customer checks and credit card charges with money market accounts. In 1992, the SEC staff determined these were prepayments, and the broker-dealer should consider them receivables from the money market fund and not from the customer. That being the case, the debits must be removed from the reserve calculation. So, our question now is the bank sweep product sufficiently similar to the money market sweep product that the firm should apply the 1992 staff interpretation to the bank sweep debits? The answer is yes. The money market sweep is an earlier version of the bank sweep product. The takeaway is this: if the rule does not mention a particular product or practice involving customer cash or securities, you cannot just assume that the rule allows you to not protect the customer's property. Also, for each class of customer property, you should determine if it's covered by the rule and write a memo on how you came to your decision. That's it for this week. If you have any questions, please send me an email at bob@rmmilburnconsulting.com or visit my LinkedIn page and leave a note. Thanks.